This is unfamiliar territory for John Thune. He's taking heat from all sides of his conference with no clear path out of the mess. He should text Mike Johnson, who has a similar scenario pretty much all the time. Good morning, I'm Jake Sherman, and welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It is Friday, December 5th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, John Thune's style is being put to the test. Number two, the Supreme Court lets Texas's map stay for 2026. And number three, House Republican leaders' healthcare vote dilemma. Let's get into it. Our own Andrew DeSiderio, I don't know why we always say our own, but he is our own. He works for us, has a great top this morning on John Thune's leadership style being put to the test. This is unfamiliar territory for John Thune. He's taking heat from all sides of his conference with no clear path out of the mess. He should text Mike Johnson, who has a similar scenario pretty much all the time. It's a very precarious position for Thune that's testing the limits of his leadership philosophy that helped him win the job. Less than a year into his tenure as Senate Republican leader, Thune has been able to successfully steer Republicans through some of the most challenging moments of his career. The OBBB, cabinet noms, government shutdown, high-profile rules change. Thune has allowed the conference to reach consensus on its own rather than dictating an outcome from above. Remember, that was the criticism, rightfully or wrongfully, of Mitch McConnell, that he centralized too much power. Leaders always get that kind of criticism. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. My theory is people actually just want to be led, even though they say they don't want to be led. So here's what's going on right now. Thune is getting heat from both conservatives and appropriators as he struggles to break a logjam on 2026 funding. This threatens to derail his promise to return to regular order on appropriations bills. Senate Republicans are flailing around on health care, unable to decide whether to offer their own plan to counter next week's vote on Democrats' Obamacare subsidy bill, and the uproar over a Thune-backed provision allowing senators to sue the federal government if their phone records are obtained, is still playing out. No one is taking open shots at Thune, but the affable South Dakota Republican faces a lot of internal heat, nowhere close to what Mike Johnson is facing. For example, he doesn't have someone on his leadership team saying he's a liar, which is what Mike Johnson had this week in Elise Stefanik, who, by the way, was on flyout day and said she was going to have a de-escalatory conversation with us instead of an escalatory conversation with us. By the way, that episode is up now. You should check it out. It was a great episode with Elise Stefanik, and we have some details in the newsletter. She gave us her views on the House Republican Conference, on a whole host of things when it comes to House politics, and also her run for governor, which is a big part of what she's focused on now. When we get back from the break, the Supreme Court has come through for Texas Republicans. Number two story of the morning, the Supreme Court has gifted Texas Republicans back their gerrymandered congressional map for the midterms Thursday evening, reversing a lower court ruling that invalidated it last month. This is huge. It's hard to overstate the impact of this order. House Republicans had suffered a string of redistricting setbacks that had many questioning the whole effort, the whole redistricting effort. With this ruling, Republicans get 5 new red-leaning states. They're likely to win at least 3 of them. The people who are the most impacted here are Lloyd Doggett, who doesn't have a seat to run it anymore, and Julie Johnson. Jasmine Crockett, if she runs for Senate, as many expect she will, most Texas Democratic incumbents rather will have a seat. Mark Veazey plans to run for the new version of Crockett's Dallas area seat if she does make a bid. Veazey's home base in Fort Worth got drawn out of his district. That leaves Julie Johnson open to run for the new version of Veazey's seat, but that district is heavily Hispanic, and many Democrats expect to bid from Domingo Garcia, a former president of the League of United Latin American Citizens. Doggett said he would retire if the map held up following pressure from Greg Casar. Casar will run for the Austin area seat that he and Doggett were both drawn into. Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez will have to run in districts that Donald Trump won handily in 2024, but both plan to seek re-election. Trump issued a stunning pardon for Cuellar this week in a federal bribery and money laundering case. It really helps Cuellar because the NRCC really can't go after him for his corruption anymore since the Republican president has just completely pardoned him. So listen, this helps Republicans in a major way. It helps Republicans because now they have these 5 seats, or at least 3 seats in Texas, that will probably impact what they do in Florida. It gives a lot less urgency, maybe not, but a little bit less urgency to them trying to get 2 seats in Indiana. But Democrats are also going ham here because they're going after a bunch of seats in Virginia, so they're going to want to go after a bunch of seats in Florida too. Republicans are. But anyway, this is a big win for Republicans because these 5 seats in Texas theoretically offset the gains that Democrats have in California. Number 3 story of the morning, an item that I wrote with Laura Weiss and John Bresnahan. House Republican leaders are not sure whether their health care bill is going to include an extension of the Obamacare subsidies. Speaker Mike Johnson said Thursday that House Republicans are close to wrapping up a health care bill. They said it'll be finalized Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get a floor vote by the end of the month. It's sure to include a hodgepodge of Republican health care priorities, expanding health savings accounts, insurance risk pools, perhaps a long-awaited reform of PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. But will they include just an extension of the Obamacare subsidies for some period of time? I would argue it should in some way, shape, or form, because it would give the most vulnerable members of the House Republican Conference a vote on these subsidies, and that's who needs that. If I were Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise and Tom Emmer, I would put this in 2 separate bills, and I would let people vote on it. I'd put the Republican policies in one bill. I would put the extension of the Obamacare subsidies in another bill. The extension of the subsidies probably won't pass because they'll have to beef up Hyde provisions. That provision bans the government from spending taxpayer money on abortion services. But this bill, by the way, Johnson said he's going to finalize it next week, and it could be up for a vote the last week of the session, which is the week of December 15th. And with that, leave us a rating and review. You can subscribe to Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day, a great weekend, and stay safe.